Hi everyone! The wildlife is full of mysteries and dangers. Every animal is fighting for survival, and no one is safe from a surprise attack. In order to escape predators, many animals have evolved interesting protection mechanisms. They're truly amazing and mind-boggling. Today, we will tell you about creatures who use the weirdest ways to escape predators. Let's get it on! Horned lizard. This unusual reptile looks like a mix of a lizard, a toad, and an alien monster. It lives mainly in the rocky deserts of Mexico and the southern American states. At first glance, this creature looks very clumsy and lazy. For example, it doesn't even hunt ants, which make up the bulk of its diet. The horned lizards simply find the anthills and devour their inhabitants, because ant poison does not affect them at all. However, their slow way of life makes a lizard an easy target for predators like coyotes, birds of prey, and other inhabitants of deserts. To get away from them, the horned lizard uses camouflage, but it doesn't always help. And if push comes to shove, it uses its secret weapon. This lizard can shoot real blood from its eyes, just like in some horror movie. The firing mechanism works like this. When there is danger, the horned lizard restricts the blood flow leaving the head, thereby increasing blood pressure and rupturing tiny vessels around the eyelids. That's how it squirts its own blood at a distance of 1.5 meters. Naturally, this shocks the attacking predator. The blood of the toad lizards also has an irritant effect due to the venomous ants they eat. Usually, a predator immediately retreats. According to some reports, during one such attack, the lizard loses up to 30% of its own blood. However, it quickly recovers. By the way, the horned lizard, along with the guitar and jalapeno, is considered the official symbol of the US state of Texas and is protected by US law. This means that its population is being closely monitored, and any attempt to hunt this species is considered an offense. Bombardier beetle. Meet the brave bombardier beetle. It lives almost in all corners of the world, except, perhaps, Antarctica. It looks very different from ordinary bugs. No bright wings or iridescent eyes. The beetle hides a secret weapon inside which can shoot poisonous substance. Not only is it toxic, it also reaches temperatures of 100 degrees Celsius. You must admit that any superhero would want to add this ability to his list.
That's not a superpower.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
What is the projectile then? Well, without getting too deep into details, let's just say the body of the beetle has several reservoirs, larger and smaller, which store the substances produced by the glands. When the insect is in danger, the walls of the largest tank are compressed, and a reaction occurs, forming toxic quinone. This incredible temperature is achieved because all chemical reactions result in the release of a large amount of heat. Deadly poison is pushed out from a special tip on the abdomen of the insect with great accuracy and in different directions. Beetle's enemies, frogs, ants, and larger beetles, stand no chance. However, there's one logical question. How does the beetle survive if it has to constantly carry toxic substances inside? Turns out that the reservoirs where these substances are stored are covered with special tissue. It is not only resistant to these substances, but almost does not conduct heat. That is why the weapon is not dangerous to the beetle at all. By the way, it might sound weird, but some aircraft designers are studying the anatomy of the bombardier beetle. The fact is that its way of accurate and fast discharge of toxic substances can be very useful in the design of jet engines. Pebble toad. These amphibians have not only an unusual name, but also very unusual behavior. Pebble toads mostly live on the slopes of the mountains off the coast of South American rivers, the Amazon and Orinoco. They don't look particularly impressive, but any circus artist would envy their acrobatic skills. Tarantulas are the main enemies of pebble toads. They move with lightning speed, often many times faster than the human when walking, while the toad moves very slowly. So when a furry spider appears, the toad folds its limbs under its body, tucks its head in, and tenses in a ball shape. This causes it to roll down the slope, like a ping pong ball. The toad suffers no injuries thanks to strong muscles and low weight. Usually, this strategy works perfectly. The predator will not chase the toad along a steep slope. In some cases, however, the toad can land in some deep place and drown. Most of the rolls end safely, after which the toad gets up and goes about its business. Japanese giant hornets. Usually, Japanese bees try to stay away from the Japanese giant hornet. The thing is that one hornet can kill 40 small workers. Hornets often attack hives because they love to eat larvae. While one-on-one combat would end badly for the bees, the community is here to help. When attacked by a huge hornet, the bee family uses a special mechanism to kill the enemy. It works like this. When an intruder flies into a hive, a huge group of Japanese bees immediately surrounds it from all sides, creating a ball. Then the insects start vibrating their wings to generate high temperatures and literally roast their enemy. A couple of minutes and this sauna kills the hornet. But how can the bees themselves survive this temperature? Nature thought about this too. The thing is, the temperature outside the ball does not rise so much, and the main part of the insect body remains at a comfortable temperature, while the enemy is literally fried alive. Electric eel. This is perhaps one of the most vengeful fish in the oceans. Not to be confused with an ordinary eel put into sushi and rolls. This creature is completely different. It lives in the rivers of the northeastern part of South America and the tributaries of the middle and lower reaches of the Amazon. The weight of this weird fish reaches 20 kilograms, and it can generate electricity. But that's not the only special thing about it. For example, it does not breathe through the gills, it uses atmospheric air. To inhale, the eel has to swim to the surface every 15 minutes. As for his main weapon, which, according to some reports, can stun an adult horse, it is also used for navigation purposes. Eels can release weak electric discharges to find their way and locate enemies, and then use distortions of the electric field to navigate. Eels also use electrical signals to communicate with each other. But of course, the most peculiar thing about an eel is its protection mechanism. When threatened, an eel is capable of releasing a discharge of electricity up to 860 volts. Needless to say, this stuns the enemy. Not only other fish, but even turtles and alligators try to stay away from an eel. Pistol shrimp. Turns out shrimps can also be predators. This creature belongs to the family of snapping shrimp. It has a huge asymmetrical claw and a peculiar ability. This shrimp can snap its claw and generate a shockwave and sound to stun its enemy. Scientists call this phenomenon a plasma bullet. It has a sound frequency of 210 decibels and produces a flash of light with a temperature of more than 4,000 degrees Celsius. This technology, created by Mother Nature itself, is carefully studied by scientists. They even decided to design a special robotic claw based on the anatomy of a pistol shrimp, which they plan to use for drilling. Rough-skinned newt. They say that the skin secretions of one adult male of this newt species can kill 25,000 laboratory mice or several people. This poison is more dangerous for humans than cyanide. It is called tetrodotoxin, and it can be found in pufferfish, which is considered one of the most expensive delicacies in the world. In simple terms, this toxin blocks brain signals, which command the heart to contract and the lungs to breathe. It is not surprising that the rough-skinned newt is considered one of the most poisonous animals on Earth. It kills enemies, for example, a blue heron or a bullfrog, in a matter of seconds. According to one story, in ancient times, Indians in North America used the poison of these animals to kill their enemies. Hagfish. One glance at this underwater creature is already enough to feel shivers running down your spine. But hagfish also have a secret weapon. These creatures are nocturnal. During the day, they sleep, buried in the silt, and at night they crawl out of their shelter and go hunting. Usually they prey on sick and weakened fish, but they have developed their own mechanism to fight off predators. Hagfish get into the gill of their enemies, including sharks, and secrete a large amount of toxic mucus. The victim's gills get clogged and the enemy suffocates. Colobopsis ants. This species was discovered in 1935, but scientists began to study it thoroughly only in the 21st century. It's interesting that these ants live on trees and not on the ground, like other ant species. Their behavior is somewhat similar to the Japanese samurai. If the enemy invades the anthill, the ants explode, spraying poisonous yellow liquid everywhere. They do this to save the other inhabitants of the anthill. By the way, this species of ants has another very special social group, Colobopsis truncata. If the anthill is under attack, which happens very often in the ant world, these ants block the entrance with their heads. That is why the color of their heads completely matches the color of the bark of the tree they live on. Moreover, they can tell their fellow ants from intruders. These are the wonders of the animal world. This is it for today. See you soon!